Well, g'day viewers. This time it's a little different to my normal travel videos, but they're going to get fewer and fewer, to be honest, because I've travelled Australia so many times now by road. Bit of a pointless exercise filming, but the same city, town or landmark again and again and again. If you actually want to look at those videos, they're in the history. I've got about 12-13 years of videos, so just scroll through there or look at somebody else's. Really don't care. Anyway, what this one is about, this is about my latest upgrades to my ute. Now I originally was just going to add a turbo to it and get a little, upgrade turbo I should say, and get a little bit more torque and power for my towing application, which I'm always towing in the caravan. Things turned out a little bit more expensive, and I ended up upgrading a shitload. Basically, I finished off the ute with the exception of my rear shocks, which I'll replace them at a later point in time. Anyway, what I've got here, I have one set of notes and an empty space over here where my map of, I don't know where this bloody finger is, there it is, it's hard doing that on the camera, where my map of Australia is. That blank space is there for a reason, because what I'll do, I'll put in still shots and any other information I find relevant, I'll just cut and chop them and add them into at the editing stage. So basically, you're going to have to excuse me looking away from the camera, because I've written everything down in that in my notes, because I do tend to waffle on and get sidetracked, and I talk about everything but the point in the subject matter. And I wanted to cover this fairly easily and fairly quickly, have it concise information. Now this is predominantly for the 6.5 community in Australia. Even though there is a 6.5 community in the States, some parts may be relevant, but this is mainly for us in Australia, because we've normally done engine swaps and put these things in patrols and Land Cruisers and all these other applications, where in the States they're just doing it to an existing Suburban or whatever. Anyway, so here we go. What I've done, I replaced my Dirk's water pump. Now before I get going, what I'll do, I'm going to summarize at the end anyway, but just while I'm thinking of it, the water pump, the injection pump, the turbos, that was all done by Brad at Cuns Customs in Australand. So having said that, I'll just read what I've got here. The Dirk's water pump, now you get that from Dirk's Pump and Cooling System, and I'll put that down at the end in the credits. He's got a Facebook page and a point of contact at that point there, so you can make contact with him and do the upgrade if you want. And by now I should have a water pump sitting up there, both the external side, which you see when it's bolted to the engine, plus his custom handiwork on the inside. Now I won't go into too much detail of that there, because basically I didn't take detailed shots and I don't have cameras to get right inside a water pump, but you can see the gist of it, where you see, oh, excuse me, the impeller, which has been custom made by Dirk. You see all these weld marks on the impeller and everything else, so you can see the new shape and the new design of the impeller blades. Clearances are a lot closer and everything else. But anyway, with that Dirk's bloody water pump, I took it for a test with my caravan in the back, and I'm GVM and GCM maxed out to the limits on my setup. And before I replaced the water pump, I went up the Coal Seam Road in Collie, or leading up to Collie I should say, in the southwest of WA. It's about the steepest hill we have here in WA, which is, I know it's nothing in comparison to the eastern states, but it's all we got. And anyway, by the top I got there, my maximum water temperature prior to the install, that's with the factory water pump, was 108 degrees Celsius. So if you're looking in the US, just use your phone on the little calculator. You can actually do the conversion and find out what that is in Fahrenheit. What I do know is 100 degrees Celsius is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, so you can go from there. Now I also, at this point in time, I got in touch with a mate called Luke Bannister, and he's a bit of an enthusiast, and he's done a lot of performance stuff to his four-wheel drive, and he's way ahead of the rest of us and really informative. And anyway, he has a water pump pulley 10 millimeters smaller. That's about 3/8 of an inch for those in America. right, smaller in diameter. So what that essentially means is your water pump's turning a little faster for any given revolutions of the engine, which means it's pumping more water, circulating more water. So I got him to supply one of these for me as well. Now, going back to the temperatures, right, 108 degrees before I installed this water pump with the caravan in tow, because I always use that reference with the caravan in tow. So every time I mention something, I always do it there, because 99.99999% of my driving has a caravan hooked up behind me, because I live in it permanently and I'm always traveling. So these were done within a day or so of each other. So 108, a couple of days later after the install, retackled the hill. I tried to keep the ambient air temperatures, you know, testing it around the same time and the same bloody temperature outside and all that sort of stuff. The difference is 92 after Dirk's water pump is installed. Bearing in mind I have 82 degree thermostats, and the thermostats are fully open 6 degrees later, so that's 88 degrees. So big improvement, and not as an extreme temperature. So that'll come in handy later on. Now, here's the part where I've actually got to concentrate and just read off here. So please excuse me looking away from the camera. The turbo install, originally I had installed a Holset 350 HE351W turbo, right, which is a Holset hybrid between a HX40 and HX35, best information I could find, as in, like, has the smaller turbine wheel and turbine housing from the HX35 and the slightly larger housing from the HX40 on the compressor side. It does have a smaller wheel there on the compressor than the standard HX40. It's 58 versus 60, right? So there is a small difference. Now, the reason I bought this turbo was because my turbo of choice, the Super 54, or otherwise known as the S54 from Quadstar in the States, was listed on their website as out of stock for about 4 to 6 weeks, and this was starting to interfere with me due to a timeline I had, because I was in Queensland when I decided to bite this bullet, and I already organised with Brad at Cunn's Customs for the install, and so timelines, things were starting to come into it. So I ended up buying a HE351 W turbo, and putting that on. Right now, after I installed that turbo, it quickly exposed two things. One, the snorkel I had was too restrictive, and I did a bastardization system trying to keep part of my factory Nissan snorkel and like a 4-inch on the inside, where you can see them matching up to the 4-inch component of the Nissan. But that was still, because of the shapes and the way you had to do it on the inside of the guard, that was still too restrictive, and it showed that. And I found that out very quickly by literally just taking the cover off my air filter box, making sure I left my filter in place. You know, you don't want to suck in dirt into the turbo, especially when it's brand new. That's a really bad mistake, right? To see how it would go, and all of a sudden the thing revved like it was a petrol engine. It just went crazy. You know, I thought, Jesus, that made a big difference, but it still didn't have the punch behind it, and that was because my where are we on my notes, right? My standard iron injection pump, which was the DB2831 injection pump, that's for those who don't know, that's a mechanical fuel injection pump. That was, you have a fuel adjustment screw which you can wind out. That was maxed out, and that was done by Brunswick Diesel at the conversion process, but that was still unable to provide enough fuel for my for the turbo. So not able to provide enough fuel for application is probably the best way to say it. So after speaking with a couple of experts, basically down at Margaret River Diesel down there at Glen, very informative guy, and doing my own R&D, right, it was recommended by Glenn, and also it was my thoughts anyway, to go back to bloody Quadstar and have a look at their site there, where they had a DB 2833 injection pump. Now the difference is the last two numbers, the 31 and the 33. Excuse me for a second. Sorry about that, guys. The 33 and the 31, that's in reference to the plunger sizes. Right, one's 310 thou, one's 330 thou, and that's thousandths of an inch, right, sort of thing. So so when I had a look at that there, decided to place the order, and I had a look and saw that the Super 54 turbo, which was my first choice of turbos, was now in stock. So after a little bit of contemplating through the wee hours of the night, I decided to bite the bullet, get the turbo and the injection pump in the one hit. So I did that there, and I'm now thinking this has turned into a bit of an expensive project because I still have to resell the HE351, which I did do, and so it recovered a little bit of my cost. But I'm now thinking, you know, there's $4,100 for a bloody injection pump. By the time the exchange rate and all that sort of stuff kicked in, taxes and duties and various other things. Just a minute. Bit of a ticklish throat, sorry about that, guys, but it's the talking so much, and you think my throat be used to it because I don't shut up. Yeah, so it says $4,100, and then by the time I got the turbo across from the States, that was $2,500. So now it's an expensive exercise, and I'm just sort of thinking to myself, well, I'm spending more than I originally planned to, sort of thing. I thought, what the hell, just get it over and done with. Let's finish the ute off, because I've been doing bits and pieces for years on the ute, and gradually updating it to where I want, as in what I consider to be the perfect ute for application for what I use it for. So with that in mind, I decided, well, bugger this, I'll do the exhaust as well, I'll do the intake, replace the snorkel, get it all done, and job done. So the snorkel was a 4-inch buddy, powder coated, but it's stainless steel, so 304 stainless, and I did the same with the exhaust. That's a 4-inch stainless. And during this time, hopefully in my editing, when I'm reviewing this, just over here, wrong way, where the hell is my finger? Aha, there it is. I'm really crap at this. Right, should be a couple of spots where I've flashed buddy pictures of the exhaust and pictures of the snorkel and pictures of the engine bay with the new injection pump, new turbo, and so forth. So when I did the water pump, just jumping back to that for a second, I spoke to Brad, because I've had a bolt come off my engine years ago, and did a centre pump hole the size of a finger right into there, and I did a, you know, side of the road patch up repair. So I got Brad to, because he's an expert in this field he's an expert in a lot of fields actually, of radiators amongst others, to pressure test the system, pressure test the radiator, make sure everything's spot on before I continue going any further. So, you know, because you have to take the radiator out anyway to access the water pump. So so with doing that, right, we buddy, yeah, as I was saying, I decided I just finished the ute off, so I bit the bullet. Turbo, injection pump, water pump, reducer wheel pulley on there, new exhaust system, a new intake system, as in, so I've already got a high flow airbox, right, as in snorkel 4-inch all the way through. So with all that in mind, that's all done. So so I'm now, technically I'm broke. Oh well, what the hell, yeah, you live once. Anyway, so in summary, I'll just refer to my notes here. I'm probably repeating myself here, but anyway. So in summary, I got Brad at Cunts Customs in Australian to do the turbo install twice. What can I say? And install the updated injection pump and the Dirk's water pump, along with the reducer wheel from Luke Bannister. Right. The exhaust, that was supplied, built and installed by Jackson at Performance Racing Services in Australind. That's, as I said, was a 4-inch stainless steel system. Right. The snorkel was supplied, built and installed by Jamison at Moonlight Stainless 4-Drive Performances in Maddington. He also did my well-done chassis bracing that I wanted to do, because since I'm always on my constant limits as far as my GVM weight and my GCM weight, and I'm always travelling, because Australia's full of corrugated roads in the outback, you know, I'm always travelling these remote roads. and the corrugations shake my car to bits. And so this is a bit of preventative maintenance to stop the chassis on my ute turning into a banana, which is never a good thing. No, it's never a good thing. So anyway, so I got that there. So what I'll do, I'll put all these in credits at the back, where like if you're watching a movie you have credits saying, oh, you're producer and director and actor and so forth, and I'll just list all the details down, contact details down for those guys and their workshops, where they are, so you can either get them through a phone number or through their Facebook page or whatever the case may be. And hopefully this is informative enough for those in the 6.5 community to reference and have a bit of a look at. Okay, I'll catch you later, guys. Bye bye.